Hi guys, welcome back to the show. It's your girl Sarah right here on Relax Radio, and I'm super excited to be here. Because we're going to be talking about a lot of interesting, different things. So make sure to stay tuned. Make sure to share your thoughts and opinions with me as well, because I would absolutely love to hear what you have to say. All right. Now, before we actually head into the conversation, I want to very quickly remind you that you can be a part of the show. All you need to do is just text me on 07852 share your thoughts, share your opinions with me, because that would be absolutely amazing as well. And don't forget to don't forget to tune into Relax Radio, so you can always find out the best of information about what we are talking about. All right. So don't actually forget to do that. Now, before we actually head into the conversation, I want to very quickly remind you that you can in fact be a part of the show. All you need to do is just go follow us on our socials. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, because that's going to be absolutely amazing. And you can always be updated and informed about the very latest that happens when when you go follow our socials. And something else that you can actually do is, go download our app, because that way you can actually make sure that you're listening into the conversation from anywhere in the world at any time of the day. All right. And now, without waiting any longer, let's actually head into today's conversation, because we're going to be talking about Afghanistan, right? And if you've been watching the news the past few days, you know how much the situation has changed in Afghanistan, right? So I thought it's very important for us, or it's very important for me, to make sure that you are always informed and you're always updated and you're aware about what is happening in Afghanistan. All right. So let us have that conversation, but make sure you text me and call me and let me know what your thoughts are, because I would absolutely love to hear what you have to say. All right. And now let's actually very quickly recap what exactly happened. Right now, on Sunday morning, the Taliban actually successfully reached Afghanistan's capital city, Kabul, right? And this was following an accelerated sweep across the country, because the militant group was actually very quickly taking hold of the final government controlled holdouts within the last week. All right. And what's important to keep in mind is that this, the rapid advances that they made towards gaining Afghanistan's capital was actually because, the United States said that they were going to withdraw from Afghanistan towards the end of this month, right? And this was, last year when Donald Trump said this, and then, Joe Biden actually came about and said, okay, you know what, we're actually going to do it. And then, while they were getting ready for the withdrawal of troops, this is actually what happened, right? And essentially, because you had all of these countries, or rather you had the United States of America essentially pulling out from Afghanistan, that actually gave a lot of control for the Taliban to continue their advances, to move forward with their advances, and actually take control of the whole of Afghanistan, right? And basically on Sunday morning, or rather the Taliban actually reached the capital of Afghanistan, and they actually managed to take hold of the entire country, right? And obviously, it didn't help the fact that their president, or former president, Ashraf Ghani, actually fled the country, and that actually gave them more control, and that actually gave them a much better ability to actually take control of Afghanistan. All right. So essentially, that's what happened. Now, the Islamist, the Islamist group successful takeover, or the successful capture of the capital, actually marked the final stages of the Taliban's full takeover of the country. All right. And essentially, when they actually did that, how that was very helpful for them was, they actually got to move forward and take control of the capital. And this was something that was in the works for 20 years. All right. Now, when they were initially ousted all the way back in 2001, what basically happened was they couldn't, there were only a certain parts that they could control, right? And basically, when they could get back control of these countries, they did, of these parts of Afghanistan, they did. And essentially, when they did that, that actually helped them, because they were able to move forward and actually go ahead with that. They were actually able to move forward and go ahead with their capture as well. All right. And there's so much more that we're going to be talking about. However, before we head into that conversation, I want to very quickly remind you that you can be a part of the show. All you need to do is just text me or call me on 07852473473 as well. All right. And it's important to keep in mind that the Taliban actually accelerated its operations to gain control over Afghanistan last year, and this was because of last year's harmonious deal between the insurgents and the United States under President Donald Trump, right? Which was what I was telling you about. So essentially when that happened, they agree, the United States actually agreed to the complete withdrawal of the US forces that were in Afghanistan. So it's important to keep that in mind as well. All right, and now we're actually going to head into a small break, and after that we will be back to keep talking more about this. But until then, make sure that you stay tuned, all right, because I will definitely be back to continue this conversation. Welcome back to the show. It's your girl Sarah right here on Relax Radio, and I'm super excited to be here on this beautiful Wednesday morning. And it's Wednesday. It's basically it's the middle of the week, and it's crazy how fast time passes by. But don't worry, because we're here to keep you updated with all of the conversation that happens, especially when time is moving by so fast. All right. So don't forget to be a part of this show, because all you need to do is just text me or call me on 078-52473473. Share your thoughts, share your opinions, because that will be absolutely amazing as well. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on the current situation that is happening, especially in Afghanistan, all right? Because that is one of the biggest issues that are currently there, especially all over the world. So make sure that you make sure you share your thoughts and your opinions with me, and make sure you let me know how you feel with regard to the situation that is currently taking place in Afghanistan. All right. And while we're at it, don't actually forget to go follow us on our socials. Now, you can like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And actually make sure that you're always informed and updated about the very latest that happens all over the world, right? And the way for you to do that is actually by liking us on Facebook, following us on the rest of social media, which is Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and also by making sure that you go download our app as well, because that way you can listen into the conversation from anywhere in the world at any time of the day. All right. So don't forget to share your thoughts, don't forget to share your opinions, because that will be absolutely amazing as well. Okay, now let's actually very quickly go back into our conversation, because we're talking about what exactly is happening in Afghanistan. What does it mean for the people who are living in Afghanistan, and what's going to happen to the refugees? So all of these questions that you have with regard to Afghanistan, I will answer all of them. All right. So make sure you stay tuned, and make sure, if you have any questions, if you have any doubts, you share them with me, because I would love to answer them as well. All right. So now, like I said, this, their rapid advance in Afghanistan, the Taliban's rapid advance in Afghanistan actually took place very close to the August 31st deadline for US troop withdrawal, right? Because the troops of the United States of America that were in Afghanistan, they were actually going to move, or they were actually going to, withdraw from the Afghan territory, because they wanted to, seize their control and seize the sort of, control they had within that region, right? And this was supposed to happen on the 31st of August. So very close to that date. And we saw how very close to that, we basically had the Taliban actually advancing and making sure that they gained as much control as they possibly could over Afghanistan. All right. Now, most telling of these developments were, in fact, on the ground, was, when their president Ashraf Ghani actually exited the country on Sunday, right? And this was also confirmed by Abdullah, who happens to be Afghanistan's top negotiating official, right? And he absolutely said that without mincing any words, right? Now, Ashraf Ghani actually, he justified the reason as to why he left the country, because he said that, he didn't want any more bloodshed than the bloodshed that was already happening, right? However, the fact that he just left the country like that immediately put so many thousands and hundreds of citizens in danger, right? Because I don't know if you saw the footage, but I saw the footage, and it's absolutely heartbreaking, right? Because you see all of these people, they're trying to get into planes, they're trying to evacuate, they're trying to flee from Afghanistan. And, there were two people that fell to their deaths as well. And that is absolutely heartbreaking, and it's so sad. It just goes to show that, or rather, in my opinion, it just looks like the United States will actually be with its allies when it's beneficial for them, right? And there were so many parallels that were drawn to Saigon, especially during the Vietnam War, especially when all of that happened. So those parallels were drawn as well. All right. So it's important to keep that in mind. And now, I want to very quickly, talk about what key cities actually fell, and how the falling of these key cities actually helped these insurgents, right? Now, to actually head into our conversation, Kunduz was in fact the first key city to fall to insurgents following days of negotiation that was led by tribal elders, right? And in the end, essentially what happened was that resulted in its surrender as well, right? And after that, after they got Kunduz, it was in fact like a domino effect, right? Because you had other major hubs like Kandahar and even Herat that fell through to the Taliban through negotiated deals with the local officials, right? And the truth is, a lot of these deals actually involved surrendering control of the cities in exchange for something like free passage, or even payoffs. And that just goes to show how desperate these people were to have a free payoff, to have a safe passage home, that they essentially gave up their cities because they wanted to make sure that their families could be safe, right? And with the Taliban actually taking control of Afghanistan, another problem or another question that comes to mind is, what is going to happen to the women and the girls, right? Now, we know that especially a lot of groups, right-wing groups, are worried with regard to women's rights, especially now that Afghanistan is controlled by the Taliban, right? So don't be shy to share your thoughts and opinions with me as well, because I would love to hear what your thoughts are on this, right? And especially because this is a very important situation, important incident that is currently happening. It definitely deserves all of our attention, and it definitely deserves as much help that we can possibly give in terms of aid, in terms of donations, to actually make sure that we try and help some of these people. All right. So that is very, very important to keep in mind. So like I said, one of the biggest questions that we have right now is what's going to happen to the rights of these women, right? Especially because there was so many, I saw so many articles, there were so many videos as well. Obviously their identities weren't revealed, but they essentially stated how now they had to give up their dreams, they couldn't go to work, they couldn't continue their education, right? So this is essentially what Malala was talking about, when she was shot by the Taliban, how they basically stopped girls from getting the education they deserve. And education, in my opinion, shouldn't be based on any gender. Education should be something that everyone should be able to access. All right. So this is just the current situation in Afghanistan. However, if you have any thoughts, if you have any opinions, if you have any questions that you want to share with me, please do go ahead, text me, call me on 078-524-73473, because I would love to hear what you have to say with regard to what is happening. All right. And now we're actually going to head into a small break, but don't worry, because I will be back to keep talking to you about, what are going to happen to the refugees that come from Afghanistan. What is the United Kingdom doing to help these refugees? So until then, make sure that you stay tuned, because I will be back to discuss all of that after this break.
The valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday. And what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. What am I saving or investing for? Why am I doing it? When will I need the money? And how much money do I need? Yeah. So that's quite important, because when you're looking at your net worth, you got to start with saying, well, what do I want my net worth to be, so that there's a goal, and then work backwards. How do I get there? And if I can start with £50 or $50 a week, if I save that every week, and you can go online and use calculators online. I don't have to teach you the maths behind it, but you can say, okay, and if I get a 3% return and I put this away for how long will it take to reach my goal? And that's called just this basic cash flow projection calculations. And it's what we use in financial planning all the time. What we say to clients is we say, okay, what is your goal? What is your objective? Where do you want to go to? And we discuss that in a lot of detail and over most of the meeting. And then the rest of it is saying, okay, in your exact circumstances, with your risk profile, with how you feel about investments and pensions and taxes and where you are and who you work with, and your education level or your lack of education or how involved you want to be. There's a lot of variables that we take into account, and then we say, okay, here's a plan. You start like this, that's great. And then we review it all the time, and we say, okay, we need to increase it, we're on track, we're not, this is what is happening. Because remember, when you're dealing with assets, the valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday. And what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. So that's a struggle. Yeah. So there are strategies everywhere from £50 a week up to £100 million, and they're different, right? They range differently from everyone, but and from country to country, to be fair. Different countries have different tax laws.